Lamaisa, this is a milestone here, because I think today, no matter how much I want to talk, I want to finish Shaar Aleph of Nefesh Hachaim, which is the end of Parak Chaf Beis of Nefesh Hachaim, which will possibly breaking a world record, because this is Shiur number 116, I believe, on the first Shaar of Nefesh Hachaim, which is not necessarily a Mila. It just takes me a long time to understand things. Even longer to explain them, and I still don't know if I understand the Shaar Aleph of Nefesh Hachaim. But it's not just the whole thing in the original Nefesh Hachaim. The whole thing is maybe 20 pages. So spend 116 or 110 hours on 20 pages. At least it should be a covet for the Nefesh Hachaim who founded the whole yeshiva world. So here in Parak Chaf Beis, we've been talking about for the last 3 shiurim Lo B'Shamayim Hi, and just to review the main yesod of it is that Lo B'Shamayim Hi means that since Moshe Rabbeinu gave the Torah to Am Yisrael, so the Torah changed positions from the olam of Yetzirah to the olam of Asiyah. How do I know the olam of Yetzirah? Because the olam of Yetzirah is where the Malachim are. The Olam of Bria is where the Neshama Klali is, the Olam HaYetzirah is where the Malachim are, amongst other things, but that's one of the things that happened. So we see when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai, he was arguing with the Malachim. He wasn't arguing with Hashem. He wasn't arguing with, other times he argued with Hashem. But here he was arguing with the Malachim. So he was arguing in the world of Yetzirah, and the tug of war there for the Torah was, I want to bring it into the world of Asiyah. So this was a huge a paradigm shift for the Torah to be in the world of Asiyah. And at that moment, when he had Nitzachim, when he was victorious over the Malachim, and he brought the Torah to the world of Asiyah, and the main argument was that that's where the Torah belongs anyway. Why would this? Think back of what you all know, the Gemara in Menachos. What did he say to the Malachim? What do you have with Leisignoi? What do you have with Kavidus Avicha V'Sivacha? You have a father and a mother? What do you have with the Torah? So the whole Torah belongs in the world of Asiyah in any case. Not just because that's the only place where the mitzvah is applied. The mitzvah is going to come out in some other form perhaps. But because the whole purpose of the creation of the world was to have a fulfillment of the Torah. It's not that the Torah is inappropriate for the world, but the world is inappropriate for the Torah. The Hashem created the world. She should have a dira b'tachtonim and istakol baraisa bara alma. Point being that the Torah took a shift. It took a leap down to this world. And at this point, and the Nefesh Hachaim points this out, and I don't know, we mentioned it already for 3 shiurim, don't know that anybody else points it out as carefully and as succinctly as he does. At this point, everything changed. At the time of Matan Torah, everything changed. Why? Because now Torah is all about the world of Asiyah, and it's no longer about higher worlds. What does that mean for us? One of the things it means for us, one of the things is that Ein Navi Rashay L'Chadesh Davar Me'ata, from the time that Hashem gave the Torah to Moshe Rabbeinu, who brought it to Bnei Yisrael, so that it became here. So nobody can now say, I'm going up to the Shamayim and I'm going to find out what Hashem really wants to do, and I'm going to make a change over here. If you do that, you're Lahavdil Elef Havdalos, you're a Yashka, or you're a Shabsai Tzvi. That's what they did. Anybody can start a religion and say God talked to them. But the point is that there is that change can't take place. What we need to understand though is what then did Chazal do? That's his next point. But just to get 100% clear, Torah is Lo B'Shamayim Hi now. Before Matan Torah, it was B'Shamayim. And since it was B'Shamayim, it was possible for Yaakov Avinu to put his head in Shamayim and to understand that he should do what the Gaon calls an Aver Lishma, marry 2 sisters, or Amram Nasa Doidasai, or many, many other examples of things which are Keneged HaTorah, which you could do as long as the Torah is B'Shamayim. Once the Torah is Ba'aretz, you can't do that any longer. It's in the world of Asiyah. It's fixed. It's what's it called in the chemical world where something actually not the word I'm looking for, but it's the chemical reaction is such that it can't be undone any longer.
Irreversible.
Thank you.
Irreversible. Chemical term.
Okay. You created a new bria.
Maybe I'm asking for repetition, but when Moshe Rabbeinu puts his hand on Kisei HaKavod in that debate, what does that mean?
It means that he was arguing with the Malachim in the world of Yetzirah, and the Kisei HaKavod is in the world of bria. So which is the world of neshamas. So really, what was going on here was a machlekes between the olam of neshamas and the olam of malachim, or the olam of bria and the olam of Yetzirah. So Hashem gave him an eitzah, and he said, "Achois b'kisei hakavod b'hachzir lahem tshuva." You're betzim coming from even a higher world than they are. Even though you're trying to bring the Torah to a lower world, you're actually coming from a higher world than they are. So achois b'kisei hakavod b'hachzir lahem tshuva.
And that's what we can do. The Hey Shmei Rabbi. That's what that we do. Yeah.
So much.
It's called a chemical change. If a chemical change, then it's irreversible.
Okay, is it?
Chemical change.
Yeah, my point being, for scientific words, my point being sometimes there's no going back. You know, I mean, I don't know, I'm not a chemist, but Moshe's a chemist, but, go try to turn water into hydrogen and oxygen. So you can do it, but it's unless you're some kind of an alchemist or something, like it is what it is. It's become a new bria, pan mechadash as well. So that, like with the Torah, so there's a new bria of Torah, and we have to be Messiache students in the world of Asiyah. Al Pizah, I want to just finish off here and try to understand his final point. Let's start from here. After the time of Matan Torah, there was still a period of nevuah. A navi can't be Yeshayahu, Yirmiyahu, etc. They can't be machadish anything, all the way up to Esther. Esther was Seif Kol HaNisim, we learned, and Esther belonged to a generation with the Anshe Knesses HaGdolah, as the Rambam puts it, Chachamim Gedolim Sheba'aretz, Umehem Kama Neviim. Umehem Kama Neviim. There were Neviim. There was Chagi, Zcharia, Malachi. They were part of the Anshe Knesses HaGdolah at that time. Cool. Chagi, Zcharia, Benach. So it was a sort of what we need to look at it is as a combination, a homogenation of the world of Nevuah to the world of Chachma. Chachma comes after Nevuah. But that was the Pascha Nevuah Yisrael in the time of Esther. It was also the canonization of the Torah, the time of Esther. Esther had to beg, Kisvuni l'Doros, I want to be in the Tanakh. She had to beg for this. Why? Because listen, we're trying to close this thing up, that we're ending the period of Nevuah. So Tanakh is coming from up to down, and Torah Sheba'al Peh, Gemara, Mishnah, Chachamim, coming from down to up, using our Chachma. Esther was on the cusp of that, and Hanukkah is already way after that, where it was all Milamata Lamala. Okay? So we had the period of Nevuah. What was the significance of Nevuah? So I just want to say something here. The Gemara says that Nevi'im have only two purposes. The Gemara in Megillah Yud Gimel, I think, only two purposes. One of them is to tell people to do tshuva, and the other one is to talk about, to be mechazik people in the fact that Mashiach is coming. There's going to be the Gemara says there's only two things that Nevi'im are there to do. They're not there to say halachas. They're not there to. They're there to. And this is what the Nevi'im did. All the Divrei Nevi'im is all about tshuva and Mashiach and the Gula. That's all they talk about. What else is in the Nevi'im? Obviously, two very, very important things, but they're not halachic things, meaning they don't change anything. They give us growth and they give us hope. That's what the purpose of Nevuah is. If you see something in the Nevi'im, which, if the Gemara sees something in the Nevi'im which is outside of those two things, so then you have to ask a kasha. The Gemara will ask a kasha. Ein navi rashay l'chadish davar me'ata. That can't be a chiddush in the Nevi'im. The whole purpose of the Nevuah has to be in one of those things, by the way, which includes personal tshuva, not just national tshuva. The person could go to a navi if you can get an appointment. You can go to a navi, and the navi will tell you about your own neshama, and they'll tell you about your own what you need to do to fulfill your tachlis in the world. That's one of the things that a navi was able to do. That's all part of tshuva.
Which the Rav touched as growth.
Growth.
In other words, to say that if you don't do tshuva, you're not growing or shrinking.
If you don't become what you're supposed to be doing, then you're not doing tshuva. You're not becoming who you're supposed to be doing. So growth and hope. Growth and hope. Next stage of history. Me'esha ba'avoinenu paska nevuah me'Yisrael. Nevuah ended too, time of Esther. Afi misasvu kol chachmei Yisrael asher nimsalem ma'aseh breishis and ma'aseh merkava. Let's say Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer would all come together. Asher nimsalem ma'aseh breishis and ma'aseh merkava. They knew everything. They knew all the Kabbalah of ma'aseh breishis, and they knew all of Yecheskel's Nevuah of ma'aseh merkava. They knew. It wasn't a problem of knowing. Rabbi Akiva was not a small person. V'yamiku hasagasam, and they would all come together in a meeting, all the Gedolei Hador, and they would be ma'amik. They would go into depth with their deep hasaga, v'toyer zichlam, and the purity of their minds, l'shanois. And they say, Rabbi Sai, no more Timcha Ezecher Amalek, it's not politically correct. Or they would say, it's okay now to eat swordfish, or whatever they would say. But they say it's just not relevant anymore. You just can't have to do anything. So what would happen? Af eze prat me'eze mitzvah ulahaktim ula'acher zmano chas v'shalom. Or they would say, this you should do a little earlier, this you should do a little later, meaning like what he's referring to probably say, daven after the Zman. It's more chashav al pi Kabbalah. Lo noiva v'lo nishma aleim, sorry all you Gedolei Hador, we don't listen to you. You've just started your own religion. V'af bebaskol, and even if there would be a baskol, amru and bab metzia, loy bashomayim hi. That would be, which is important for us to understand, crystallize this thought, that if all the Gedolim would come together, the Gedolim of the Mishnah, I'm not talking about the Gedolim of the Mishnah would come together and say something which is Keneged HaTorah, what they're doing is they're being oisik, what they would be doing, their mistake would be that they're oisik in Yonei Shamayim instead of being oisik in Yonei Aretz. That's the mistake according to him. So then we would say, Loi Bashamayim. We wouldn't say you're stupid, we wouldn't say you're wrong. We're saying the Torah is not there anymore. That's not your purpose any longer. Be'az Paska Nevuah, that's not what's meant to be going on. Ba'adayin b'mei Chachmei HaTalmud ha'Yerushalayim l'chadesh, there were still some things that the Chachamim were allowed to do. And we spoke about this last week with Hanukkah. Mitzvahs d'Rabbanan kishenimsu smach me'aTorah. When the Gemara says asmachta ba'almahu, the Gemara means that they have to, before they're machadish something, Esther min HaTorah minayin, right? Before the Chachamim are machadish a new halacha, they have to find something in the Chumash. They can't completely say it on their six. Go Neiris Chanukah, Yoytze Kanal. Chen ligzor gzeres k'ma yud ches davar, there's different in Yanim of Tumah. Now, that's talking about during the time of Chazal. Kasher nechtam haTalmud HaKadosh. Now we have, let's take this now another 1,000 years. From the time of the Bais Rishon, where it was Paska Nevuah. Paska Nevuah was exactly, the actual Paska Nevuah was when Alexander the Great came into the Beis HaMikdash, so say Chazal.
Sorry, Nechtam Talmud was how many years after the Paska Nevuah?
So you're going all the way from the time, the beginning of the Bais Rishon to the end of the Bais Sheni and further, all the way to the end of the Gemara. So you're talking about 1,000 years. So who redacted the Mishnah? Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Who redacted the Gemara? Ravina and Rav Ashi. Is that what you said? Ravina and Rav Ashi. So Ravina and Rav Ashi, and the words of the Gemara, Haim Seif HaHayra'ah. By the way, Ravina and Rav Ashi, what their function and their siyata d'shmaya was to do, was to say, I'm quoting the Gemara, halacha kiman. That's all. Like this is, we go like Rabbi Yehuda here, we go like Rabbi Yeshua here, we go like this is what we do. Halacha kiman. Once Ravina, now this is a very, very big kiddush, because once we say Ravina and Rav Ashi died, there was the chasima of the Talmud Bavli as we know it. Then that was another paradigm shift. This is a paradigm shift which is not usually talked about. I'll tell you why. Because the Gemara says that there's 2,000 years of Toyu Vavayu, there's 2,000 years of Torah, and there's 2,000 years of Yemais HaMashiach. The 2,000 years of Toyu Vavayu end with Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu was born in 1948. When he was 52, he started to disseminate the Torah as he understood it, his Nevuah, and that was 2,000 years of Toyu Vavayu. We started being civilized with Torah. The world started getting civilized with Avram Avinu. From Avram Avinu took another 2,000 years, and those were called the 2,000 years of Torah, which ended exactly with the redaction of the Mishnah of Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. It was exactly 2,000 years. So you're talking about, this was, I think, 40 years after Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi was nifter. It was exactly 2,000 years, and that's when the Mishnah actually came out to the world. The Mishnah, in other words, the Talmidim were working on Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. He had a Gishmak Kollel putting together Torah Shuvah. So that's 4,000 years.
40 years after he was nifter?
Yeah, it was the year 4,000.
He's the one who, it should have ended when he was nifter if he was on.
No, it did end, but they were just they were busy writing it up. They had scribes. It did end. Nobody wrote anything though. So you're talking about the end of 4,000 years when we received the Torah Shabbat Peh. So that's 4,000 years. And now, since then, it's the last 2,000 years is Yemais HaMashiach. So if it's Yemais HaMashiach, what's it going to do with Ravina and Ravashi? So it's a hump in history which doesn't get a lot of covet. The Chasimus HaTalmud. What's my nafkamina? Yet, that being said, he says here, Kasher nechtam HaTalmud HaKadosh ein lanu ela lishmar v'lasis k'chol HaKasav b'Torasenu HaKadosh sheb'ksav Shabbat Peh. He's talking about in the year 5,000, 4,600. That's what he's talking about. K'chol mishpatam v'chukaisam u'bizmanam u'prateim v'diktukeiam b'lina toizmem n'tiyah kol do. You can't argue with the Gemara. Now the Rambam just says, the Rambam in his Hakdama to the Mishnah Torah so talks about this Nakuda. Was there any significance to the fact that Ravina and Ravashi, halachic significance to the fact that Ravina and Ravashi were nechtam the Talmud Bavli? Is it an important thing or not? Meaning, is it become now usher to, like what happened? What ended? By the way, it's very interesting. Like it's a subject unto itself. The different tkufas in the history of Klal Yisrael, like if you're in learning. So you have the tkufa of the Goinim, the tkufa of the Rishonim, the tkufa of the Achronim, which I think has ended. I don't think it goes on forever. The tkufa of the Achronim, I think it ended, and all of these always ended with a major catastrophe.
Where did it end?
Chorban Bayis Rishon, the tkufa of Nevuah, the tkufa of the Mishnah. It all ended with if you look throughout history, it all ended with a Chorban. I think the Holocaust, that was the end of the Achronim. What do you have today? Gedolim. Tkufas HaGedolim. It's another thing. I think you'll find as a term the word Gedolim used ever in recorded history. I didn't say somebody's Gadol B'Torah, but I'm just saying like the Gedolim said. So it's Kuf of Gedolim. What are Gedolim? Who are Gedolim? Who's a Gadol? A very interesting question. It's a new Tkufa. It's a new Tkufa. Basically, we're talking about, in my opinion, we're talking about somebody who understood clearly, somebody who understands clearly everything that was said by the Nevi'im and all the way through the Rishonim and the Achronim. And to be a Gadol means a leader, not a scholar. And this is extremely important to me because I believe this is what Nefesh Hachaim is teaching us here. That we're talking about a leader. You can be a scholar, it doesn't make you a Gadol. How come nobody's shooting me? I'm going to say it again.
Makes sense.
Yes. In other words, you say such a person is like, wow, like he's really a Gadol Ador, just nobody knows about him. So, okay, if he's a Gadol Ador, nobody knows about him. He's not a Gadol Ador. Might be the Tzaddik Ador, might be one of the Lamed Vovniks, he might be the Talmud Chacham Ador. Gadol, the word that the Gedolim mean, they say Gadol is people that have taken on themselves, or people have given them the mantle of leadership, and that's like an extremely important thing. That being said, we're not talking about a political leader. We're not talking about an NCSY director. We're talking about people that know everything that they need to know. Talmidei Chachamim Muflagim that can use the Chachma that they have to lead the generation. That's what we need to look for when we're looking for Gedolim. I don't know that like somehow it's the Rosh Yeshivas are the Gedolim. Okay, no, I'm not just because somebody's a huge Talmud Chacham, I'll lay down on the ground for him to walk over me. I have no, but in terms of Talmud Chacham is Talmud Chacham. But in terms of a Gadol or Gadol Hador, we're talking about Hanhaga. We're talking about Manhig. In Hanhaga it has a lot of different areas to it. There's Hanhaga of Halacha, there's Hanhaga there's political Hanhaga, there's a lot of different Manhigim. And there's a lot of different kinds of Jews, but you need a lot of different kinds of manhigim. But that's what a gadol is.
How do we understand the Gedolim in the context of, how did you term it, scholars? In other words, their Torah that they're saying over is not chidushim, they're not being Monsey something.
A chiddush today is a deeper understanding of what was said before. That's what a chiddush means. A chiddush in the time of the Tanoim was a new understanding in the Chumash that a new halacha that could come out of it. A chiddush today means you've understood something and explained something better. If I understand it better and if I can help you understand it better, I've said a chiddush. That's what a chiddush means.
If you explained it before, but why wouldn't this 2,000 years of Torah start with Mamad Har Sinai?
That's a very good question.
Why by Abraham is Bashav?
Because the 2,000 years is when it came from Avram Avinu's heart to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's pen. Meaning it had to go all the way from the world of Machshava to the world of Dibur to the world of Maisa. The 2,000 years of Torah had to go through a ta'alich. We're talking about a process, and in that process, interesting, the transfer into the atmosphere of the Torah from Har Sinai, from Atzilus Tasiyah, was only the beginning of the transfer. Now we have to take that, and we have to develop it, and we have to integrate it, and that's why it ends at Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, where now it reached the world of Gashmias. Yes, it's written down. It's in the world of Gashmias.
The other question is, when we say that like Yaakov went up to Shemayim and was able to see about two sisters, so on the other side, so what are the Malachim talking about even in Shemayim? It's not like we're saying Moshe's argument that when you come down here you don't have.
You mean what were they learning?
So what would they say even up in Shemayim, if that's the way Torah is in Shemayim?
Look, so this is a very important question because if I understand what you're saying, the Torah has many dargas to it, and the simple way you can understand is Kavidas Avicha Vesinacha. It's like Shiluach Hakan. So you take Shiluach Hakan, you can take a bird and send it away from the eggs and take Habanim Tikachlach. You could also say in the world of Malachim that it refers to the Kodesh Baruch Hu moving away Knesset Yisrael from its home. And there's so many different madrigas which are all in pshat, if you will. But in the world of Asiya it has to do with eggs and chickens. That's the key. In the Malachim we're dealing on a higher level, and that higher level it's hard to it's like they were in Kollel. Like, what are you doing with bringing the Torah out to the street? To them it was, why are you lowering it to the world of Gashmias? But the answer is that Moshe Rabbeinu had a real challenge there. You're taking the Torah, what are you putting the Torah in the gutters? In the Hasidic world, in the Hasidic world, it's like the lower down you go, the better, right? Malin and Tzotzis, like down further. You permeate, get deep and dread. That's the way you have to do it. The Baal Shem Tov was busy his whole life of trying to find the water carriers and the tailors and because he was trying to go, not that they're low, but there was the Amaratzim, Am Haaretz. He was going to the lowest places and trying to make that also Kadosh somehow or another. That's also changed. Like the Hasidim have become like more. You can't join us. Something's happened there also. Something weird. But that's the original kavanah. The original kavanah was like the sparks, to find the sparks. So it's.
So I mean, I don't want to be controversial, but if somebody today says that having a smartphone is an Isra D'Oraisa, is that transgressing in a sense what the Nefesh Hachaim is saying.
You know, as soon as you said I don't want to be controversial.
Got excited, right?
I was at a shiur once when somebody giving a shiur said
This is
that
right.
it's the right to have a smartphone. So and people say those kind of things today. So is that like
Look, if that's what Gedolim say, that's what Gedolim say. I'm not going to argue. I'm not talking about
He-
smartphones.
but
the Nakuda, you know, being that wasn't so controversial, let me say something. I'll do. Look, I say Gedolim are leaders, and leaders are meant to lead. And to lead means to look at where we are in history, and to examine what is the avodah of Klal Yisrael right now. Right now, let's talk about it in terms, like I did before, in terms of post-Holocaust. What's the avodah right now? You could say the avodah right now has to do with the fact that we have Eretz Yisrael. Even Satmar Hasidim say we have Eretz Yisrael. They hold the avodah a little bit different than we do, but there's an avodah. That's enough. Avodah now has to do with that there was whatever 60-70% intermarriage and assimilation. The avodah, there are a lot of different things that are going on now that were different than what was going on in Europe before the Holocaust and in the time of the Rambam is different. So the pshat in the Gedolim is to examine the issues that are on the table today, and there's issues of our yachas with the government. It's different than it was before Europe, where the government was just trying to kill us in Nazi Europe. They're just trying to kill us so you can pay your taxes. Didn't make any sense. Like we give them money, but here's 12% of my income, go build yourself a gas chamber. What are we going to do? It didn't make any sense. But today, we're a whole different story. Let's say in the United States of America, the United States of America is helping Israel right now. So why aren't we supporting them? Right? They're declaring Yerushalayim the capital. They're releasing what's his name? Rabashkin. Like wonderful, like the Mashiach. So like it's a difference. So you need Gedolim to come and to really sit together. That's a big one, and to really discuss dvarim ha'omdim ala perek. Different things. I've mentioned 3. There's probably 50. To me, I'm not a gadol, so how do I know? But to me, the cell phones are at the bottom of the list. Because first of all, I'm not saying it's you got to be very, very careful with these phones, because with smartphones, because I could tell you that just in my little ministry here, so much tzaris comes from overexposure. Nothing else. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's. I could just tell you that kids and adults are way overexposed. Not to mention the amount of time and the addiction that people, just the addiction to email and to information and to Google and to, it's crazy. It occupies hours of people's days, and then they go away depressed and without even getting to the pornography and everything else. It's an extremely dangerous thing. However, there's also, and here's what I would say is what the Gedolim need to discuss is, on the other hand, has there ever been a situation in history that can bring the whole world together in one conversation? Like, has there ever been? I wanted to look up a Rebbe Chanan this morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have the Kuntres Divrei Sefer online in less than a minute. I had the whole Kuntres Divrei Sefer on my isn't this something great? And there will come a time, if it hasn't come already, that you won't be able to drive a car or open your garage door without having the internet. So what do we, it's silly to just deny. So what's the answer? The Gedolim must come together. And this is in the Bechina of, Kotten HaMa'oris HaGadol. The Gedolim must come together and say, okay, how are we, this is a huge challenge. How are we mechanech properly in this challenge? How to use this? How do we teach our kids? How do we teach people how to use it properly? Just to say, don't have it is almost a silly, thing. Not to mention the fact that kids have it anyway. with all the not having it and the Isser and everything else, because everybody, I mean, it's just amazing who I get email from. You have email, of course. It's just amazing. If you have email, you have the internet. So once you're in there, you're in there. You can get in there. It's not what I'm saying is that I just wished. I'm yearning to see the magazine or the journal, which is taking the serious issues of our time, the serious challenges of our time, the shalom bias, the kids, the situation of kids, the different financial issues that are there, and do what the Gedolim of all the generations did, and deal with it. So if you're a Rosh Yeshiva, you've got to make sure that there's policies in your yeshiva. But if you're a Gadol, so a Gadol is saying for the whole world what to do. Should there be secular studies in school? Shouldn't there be secular studies in school? I mean, should people make parnasa? Is it a smart thing? Is it a smart thing that so many Rosh Yeshivas told their Talmidim not to get a high school diploma, not to is it a smart thing? And now working in jobs for $6-7 an hour or 30 shekel an hour when they could be supporting their families and giving tzedakah at hundreds of shekels. Is it smart? I don't know. I'm not a gadol, but I just know that these are the questions. These are the questions on the floor. So that's the tkuf of the Gedol.
Really, just on this leadership issue, you focused on looking ahead, looking forward. But you haven't put a dagesh on looking at your flock, like who exactly is walking behind you.
What do you mean?
Yaakov Avinu said to Esav, you go ahead, they're young, I can't push them too much, they'll die. Not every flock is the same. So every leader has to look who he's leading for.
But say things that they need to hear, that's all I'm saying. Just the things that, I know there's things that I'm just yearning to hear. I'm sure everybody is. I'm just yearning to hear. I'm yearning for some hadracha. I don't want to hear politics. This one's bad, that one's bad. I want to hear what's the correct yachas to all the different, and you can't go into yesterday's thing. So let me finish because this gets more fun as we finish this Shaar. I started mentioning this. I was in the middle of a sentence before I interrupted myself. That the Rambam in the Hakdama to Mishnah Torah talks about the paradigm shift of Ravina and Rav Ashi. He says that was also an end of its kufa. Chiddush, as I say, is that it wasn't the end of 4,000 years, the end of 4,000 x hundreds amount of 460 years, whatever it was. So he explains that what happened with the end of Ravina or Rav Ashi was that there was a pizer from Bavel, a pizur. It was a sort of a galus, and the Rambam says that once there's this the Gedolim or the Chachamim of that time are not sitting biyachad, you can no longer have a Talmud Bavli. Meaning, whatever anybody's going to say, they got thrown to Morocco or to Poland or wherever it is that the Kehillos were thrown from, wasn't concentrated in Eretz Yisrael Bavel. It wasn't concentrated. There was no communication. There was no internet. So once that happens, says the Rambam, there's no way that anybody can establish a halacha for everybody. We don't have a mechanism. By the way, I think that the internet can be that mechanism. Talk about saying controversial things.
Throughout history, we've never had Bavel, that we're all together.
We're all together. We've never had it. You had it in the Lishkas Hagazas, and Bavel was able to get together. Pumbedisa and Narda, they did get together and they talked, and then they brought their psakim to Eretz Yisrael, and there was a communication there. Now, then after that, with the way the Gullus turned out, so many countries and so many different things. So it was it got sotzuflagen, and then you had the next big deal was the time of the Spanish Inquisition and the expulsion from Spain and Portugal, and you'll see that right after that came out the Shulchan Aruch. And tens of svarim, including Kabbalah svarim, which just, let's get this whole thing together. I'm saying today it's the Rambam blames it all on the Pizur. The Chasimus HaTalmud The tragedy that happened there was the Pizor. We could examine it historically, but it's interesting to know. It wasn't necessarily a shift down in terms of Chachma. This is an important point. It wasn't necessarily that we weren't as smart. Now, I'll just tell you that being said, that the Vilna Gaon argues with the Rambam, l'chayra, because the Vilna Gaon says that from the time that of Ravina and Rav Ashi, there's no more bina. There's no more bina. We don't have the ability any longer. So we're sort of less intellectually. But that's not what the Rambam says. And the guy is the guy. But that's not what the Rambam says. He says it's a matter of Pizor. So keep this the shaila in mind. Where are we today? And here's really the punchline starts here. And I want to finish the part, so I'm going to have to go 5 minutes over. If a person today does a mitzvah, you have no kavanah for the mitzvah. I'm just a pasha yid. Tell me to put on tefillin, I'm putting on tefillin. I'm not shake the lulav, I shake the lulav. Just tell me what pasha yid. So I say, I don't know. I'm not the intellectual that understands what's happening in the olam osel yonas when I put on tefillin. I don't know. I'm just doing it. You're still makayim the mitzvah, and there's still a tikkun. All of the olamas are mesukin al yedehem. You fix this pasha yid that's shaking a lulav and doesn't even know why. The pasha yid who does that is changing the entire universe. He's changing the olam of Atzilus and Bria and Yitzira and Asiya without any kavanah. B'chol mitzvah lefisha ata u'makayir v'nyana v'yutan oiz lelekim. This is where he starts in Perek Aleph. V'yutan oiz lelekim. He gives HaKadosh Baruch Hu the koyach to give us more in this world. Shekain kava habayra yisbarach shmai tivam shalei lamayis sheyisnagu ayidei ma'isa adam. At the end of the day, and this he goes back to what he said in Ma'aseh Alav. If you can imagine a bell which is 10 stories high, or on top of the World Trade Center, or whatever it's called, all the way up on top, and the string comes all the way down to the street, and you're coming and you give it a ring. It rings up there. Yaakov Hevel, it rings. You just have to move it, and it rings. Do you have to know the engineering and the mechanics and why when I'm pushing this here does it ring up there? Maybe better not to know. Because the fact of the matter is, we live in the world of Asiya. Your job is to ring. Don't be the engineer here. You see what happens like if a person becomes too smart? It's like never let your kids use your computer because they're smarter than us. So what happens is they start programming it, they start fixing it, and they start making it better, and it never works the same. Right? Am I right? Yeah. Or is it just my kid? Like an unbelievable mitzvah. Just leave it alone. Don't touch the settings. Be an end user. Be an end user. Don't touch it. But you don't know. We know how to do that. Don't touch it. So what happens over here is that in the generation that we live in, we are in the world of Asiya. We are ringing the bell. Don't just be an end user. This is what he's telling us over here. Don't get involved in the what's happening and why it's happening and what world I'm being misaken. Now I have a tremendous Yetzer Hara to yes get involved in that. So thank God there's the next paragraph. Well, not that I do understand it, but I'd love to. What do we do with the Mekubala? I'm not talking about magicians. I'm talking about people that really do understand the deeper things of what happens, the physics of what happens when I push the rope here and why it rings over there. There has to be a lot of physics involved. Not that it makes any difference, but there has to be a lot of physics. So whatever you're a Mekubal. We see that we're blessed today from people, even the Chachmei HaTalmud, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai v'Chaver v'Talmidav. We have Torah from the Rashbi, Kabbalah. And we have people even much later than them. They told us the deep physics of what's going, or what's the spiritual word for physics? The Greek, the physics that's going on in Shemayim.
The metaphysics.
Or more. Who rak kadeshi yisbayin called that? What's the purpose of all that knowledge? What's the purpose of knowing the Torah of the Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, the Torah HaRizal? All of Torah HaChasidus, by the way. I mean, the real Torah HaChasidus is Kabbalah. Kabbalah for people. You know, Kabbalah, but look at Chassid. Rabbi Yaacov Hillel was a Rebbe and was a chavrusa of mine for many years. He told me that if somebody, he says everybody should learn Chassidus. Yeah, well, but Musar is Musar, but I mean, everyone should learn Chassidus because that's the Kabbalah that everybody needs to know. The Kabbalah that everybody needs to know is what you need to inspire you to do a mitzvah properly here in Olam Asiyah. You don't need to know how to make tikkunim in Shemayim.
Because the Baal Shem Tov made it accessible to the...
That's right. You see, you can always ask a kasha. Here, the Baal Shem Tov is for the simple man, and he's the one who told everyone to learn Kabbalah. Hello, like what's a steer? So the answer is that he understood that taking this chachma and giving it into putting it in a way that everybody can get it and everybody can understand it, and it inspires us to do the mitzvah better. But where's our mitzvah? Here. That's the key. So this is what he's saying. Who rakadei, the all purpose of all of this knowledge in Kabbalah, including this sefer. Who rak kedei she is barnin kol echad lefi sichloi v'asagasei ad heichen magian kol prate ma'asav v'dibur v'achshavaisav. You should know what you're doing. You're ringing a bell in the Shemayim when you push the string over here. You should just know. Even an Amoritz can know that. And you know it a little bit better, you know a little bit better. What a hisairis it is to know that you could be making peace in the world by putting on tefillin, even if you have no idea how it works. Just to know it is so inspiring. How much more careful you'll be with the tachlis and the diktuk of every mitzvah when you realize that how much it's changing the entire world. That's what it's for. Be'ema, v'yira, ba'ava, atzuma, u'b'kedusha, v'taras ha'alev. V'ayidei zeh. And by doing your maisa with, that's the kavanah. The kavanah is you have to know, not that you have to have kavanah. You understand, it's a very subtle point. Not that you have to, it's not your job to figure out how to be Masakin or Lamais. That's Yaakov Avinu figured that out, and Rabbi Yonah Nasi figured that out. And even Ravina Ravashi told us how to do it. But our job is just do it. But you should know that when you're doing this, even a monkey knows you push the light switch and wow, all the lights go on. So you have to understand what it means that we put when we say Ve'irastachli lo'elo. You have to understand, the whole world just changed. Just know it. You don't. Do I know why these lights go on when I push the light switch? I do not. Honestly, I do not. But I know it does. I know a little bit about it, but you don't have to know. It's not important to know. I certainly don't know how my computer works. But we're end users. But the end users, just to know the power of it, is just amazing. And by just doing it with the kavanah of the importance of it, yigraim tikunim yoser gedolim ba'olamais. You're being goyrim with more tikunim in the olamais. You're doing more by just knowing that you're doing it. Amnam. However, and here's the end words of Perek Chav Beis. Amnam ha'ikar b'chol ha'mitzvos li'ikuva. What's ma'akiv in a mitzvah? Who protei ha'maisa shebahem. It has to do with the maisa. And the reason for that is because we no longer live in those worlds. See, machshava, dibur, umaisa. We are in the world of maisa. Maybe you'd like to be in the world of machshava, like Avram Avinu was, but we're not. We're in the world of maisa. That's where we are. So it's all about asiyah. Don't get involved with the back of the computer. Don't get under the car if you don't. Don't get under the hood. Don't do it. Just drive. I don't know why it works, but it works. You drive, press the gas, press the brake, it works. You don't have to know, and if you know, it could be a little bit of knowledge can call you often also. But to know that there's tremendous amount of chachma in this car, even a million times may not reach more chachma in the bria, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the buttons here with our Taryag mitzvahs. Just do them and do them right, and this is the end of Shaar Aleph. Salik Shaar Aleph. We'll start Shaar Bais on Sunday.